What's up, y'all? Today we have my boy Kyle Bright. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Kyle's actually I've been wanting to start a podcast for so long, probably last 2 years. And the only thing, I had a couple things that I needed to get done to start it. And one of the biggest ones was the music part. And I was like, yeah, dude, I still got to do get some beats for the intro and outro. He's like, dude, I got you. And I was like, oh, okay. And he sped up the process really quickly and from the things that I needed to do, and I really appreciate it. It kickstarted it off right away.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
I kind of knew that was the last thing you had, the final piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, let's knock it out.
Yeah.
And then we just went through Kyle has these whole I guess you used to make beats, right?
Yeah.
And you just had a whole arsenal of is it thousands, hundreds?
It's not thousands, but it's enough.
Yeah, enough to go through. And we just listened through some stuff. I was like, oh, this sounds good. This sounds good. And so what you guys hear in the intro and outro is Kyle's beats. Was it weird to hear it the first time?
No.
No? It's cool?
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely.
So do you miss music and stuff at all? Because you don't do it anymore, in terms of making beats.
I still do it. I just don't seek it as a career anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a hobby. So
You still enjoy it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't for a while, but kind of the last couple of years I've been getting back into it, and it's a lot more enjoyable now. The stress is off, the pressure's off.
Yeah.
There's no deadlines. It's just kind of do it because I love to do it.
How old were you when you started to get into beats or beat making?
Beat making came later. I started DJing probably 15 or 16. I got my first set of turntables.
So what's the difference between beat making and DJing?
Well, DJing is just kind of mixing stuff that already exists. And yes, you can create beats from turntables, but beat making is more of production side, chopping stuff up, rearranging it. It's kind of collage art in the audio realm.
For beat making or DJing?
For beat making.
Okay. And then DJing, is DJing just strictly at parties or at whatever that you consider a DJ?
I don't think so. I mean, even if you just do it at your house, you're still DJing, even if it's just for you.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought in my head oh, the DJ is the guy at the party just turning tables and stuff like that.
I mean, that's certainly an example, yeah.
Yeah. So how did it progress from just DJing from when you were 15 to oh, I want to make beats?
I mean, the first time I heard hip hop music, man, I fell in love with it.
What made you fall in love with it?
Just the rhythm, the bass lines, the drums, the samples that I could recognize from music that my parents listened to.
Sure.
Yeah, and I got obsessed with it when I was in high school and kind of just kept going.
Just music in general and hip hop?
Yeah, hip hop was mainly it.
Yeah.
I was into rock and, alternative and other stuff earlier, but once I kind of heard hip hop, that was kind of it.
Yeah. What does music mean to you? What feeling do you get when you listen to music or certain types of music, or when you listen to hip hop? What's that feeling that you get? Why do you listen to hip hop, or versus why do you listen to rock? What's your reasoning for, or how do you feel when you listen to those types of music?
That's a tough question. Music's around me all day. Mm-hmm. It's kind of it moves with your emotions. If you're feeling sad, you listen to sad music. If you're feeling good, you listen to good music. Mm-hmm. Even your workouts, the music you listen to, you can decide how intense you want to get with it.
Yeah. So what gravitated you towards hip hop?
I don't know, man. It's just the culture of it. I love the graffiti art.
Mm-hmm.
I love the DJing, MCing.
Yeah.
Break dancing, all that stuff.
Sure. And then Kyle has one of the biggest record collections that I've ever seen. I didn't really know people still collected vinyl, honestly, until when first time I walked into your house, bro. I was just what's going on here? He has where his TV is supposed to be is basically a bookshelf of vinyl records. And yeah, how did you get into collecting vinyl? Because that's a very old school thing to do. Type of
Well, I mean, that's part of the hip hop stuff. When I was DJing, it was all on vinyl.
Yeah.
There was no Serato, any of that stuff. So I just needed records to be able to play and to play parties and whatever. Like if I didn't have vinyl, like it just wouldn't happen.
Oh, so those records on turntables are actually like albums and stuff of like.
I mean, nowadays it's all like computer controller
Sure.
stuff. But prior to Serato, and there's other programs.
What's Serato?
Serato's like it's like a music controller. So you have like a tone vinyl that you put on your turntable, and then that controls like audio from your computer. So when you move the record on your turntable, it will control the audio on your computer.
Okay.
So nowadays you don't have to bring a whole crate of records to a party. You just bring your computer and your two turntables.
Did you used to bring like a whole crate?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, those big like recycling
Oh, no
bins.
way.
Oh yeah, dude.
So that's what you see like when DJs would bring like a whole crate of like.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep.
So you've been collecting and like reselling and selling records for how long now?
Oh, I mean, collecting records, it's been at least 20 years at this point.
Was that mostly just for DJing, or did you just like want to have a personal like collection of like for your own place and just like wanting to have that like I guess like hip hop culture or just like music culture in your house and around you at all times?
I mean, it's kind of everything. Like even like beat making, it's you sample parts of old records to make something new. So it's just kind of over the years between, and I even buy stuff that I just listen to and won't ever use for anything.
No,
like
really?
It's just, I just love music, man.
That's awesome. What do you call it? Is there like any other types of music besides like rock and hip hop that you listen to like a lot?
I listen to everything.
Like
it doesn't classical music, country, like everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think? Or there's a lot of people out there who don't like listen to country, who don't like listening to classical music, and like, do you think there's a benefit of listening to everything, enjoying everything, versus like, or is it just people's like references? Can you learn from like different eras of like different types of music?
Oh, absolutely.
How so?
Like, you mean like learning stuff?
Yeah. Like, why should someone listen to country music? Like, what they just like don't like the sound. They're not open minded to it. Like, why should they listen to it?
I mean, that's like saying you're not open minded to other cultures. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just either you don't understand it,
Yeah.
or it's new for you. So, I mean, for me, like I hated country music for the longest time, but like in the last probably 3 or 4 years, I'm just finding stuff that I actually like.
What's that guy's name? Tyler
Childers?
Yeah. Cal put me on this like acoustic album of Tyler Childers.
Yeah, Childers, I think.
Yeah, it's on the, and it was like some of the best country music that I've like ever listened to. I was like, it's like the type of music that you're just driving down PCH, windows down, and you're just like good thinking music, like chill music, versus like you don't want to slap some hip hop right then when you're just like cruising on PCH.
Or even like, when I drove across the country, like with Greg earlier this year, it was, if you're in the middle of Wyoming, like country makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Greg was, I had him on 2 podcasts ago, the military man. All right. Sorry.
That's right. Sorry.
All good. Yeah. So, we started this bitters company about, how long has it been now? Like time is just like has been so quick with like quarantine. I honestly don't know.
It's a year. You think about it, like we fully got committed when quarantine.
When did
happened.
the idea come about that? When did it come into fruition?
It was probably like 3 or 4 months before that.
Okay.
But we didn't start getting serious until quarantine hit and we weren't working.
Sure.
So it was like, okay, now's the time. We have a bunch of time. Like we're
Yeah.
Let's just
so
do
time
it.
flies by. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So most of you who listen to the podcast probably have seen like my Instagram, and I post a lot about Inspirit bitters, and this is the company that we started working on basically a year ago, when probably right before quarantine started. That's when we started like thinking about the idea, the name, stuff like that. And me and Kyle worked at similar restaurants in Westwood. I just graduated UCLA at the time, and I was bartending at California Pizza Kitchen in California, and Kyle was bartending at Barney's right next door. And then I didn't know that many bartenders around, and I got this bartending event downtown, and I needed to bartend with someone, and me and Kyle got pretty tight, just chit-chatting at the bar. And we did that event. It was super fun. Shout out to Hank. That was like one of the most fun
Yeah, it was a good time.
bartending parties that we've done. And at the end of the night, Kyle gave me this bottle, and it just said bitters on it. And it was like, I think batch number 3.
Yeah.
It said 003. And I didn't really know what bitters were at the time. Like I only knew it was in like old fashions and Manhattans. Like I didn't know there was a whole like science to it. Basically like a science lab or like a whole world of like mixology that's just around bitters. But the next day when I like made an old fashioned for myself with these bitters and I had it, I was like, holy shit, that was one of the best old fashions I've ever had. And then I went to Kyle's bar the next day. I was like, bro, we got something here. That's at least how I remember it. Like, what did you remember from it? Because like we weren't super tight back then. Like I just knew you because we had like mutual friends. Like came to your bar, you know.
Yeah.
Like is that how you remember it?
Yeah, that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
I mean, and also like as it moved forward, like I never considered this ever becoming a company. Mm-hmm. Like until you put that idea in my head, like that was the farthest thing from my mind.
Yeah. Why did you make bitters at home? Like what was the reasoning?
It was kind of that at that time I was like stepping away from music and still had like a creative need I needed to fill, and I was bartending. Yeah. So naturally it was like, you know, I just went on a mission to make like a really good old fashioned. That's my favorite drink. So I just kind of like would try it out. I tried a few like recipes I'd find online, and then eventually I found a couple and combined them and started taking stuff out and
Yeah, especially since like the old fashioned has changed dramatically over the years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like what was it? What was the one that were muddling like a ton of cherries and oranges at the bottom? Was that 1980s?
I'm not sure, man.
I think it was, but yeah.
I mean, that's still like a big popular thing in Wisconsin.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wait, where are you from again?
I'm from Minnesota.
Okay. All right. What brought you out to LA again?
Music.
Some music. So mostly music, and then you came out of that. You enjoy it. Wait, why did you stay out here?
I don't know. Something just told me I'm not ready to leave yet.
Yeah. That you were going to start a bitters company and it was going to take
probably maybe.
Yeah. So, what made you, I guess, like, what made it like tick that you wanted to start it? Cause I just brought you the idea and like, it took a while for me to I wasn't even convinced. Like I think we had to convince each other.
Probably.
Because in my head, I've always wanted to start something like that's on my own, that like you didn't have to have your own boss. That's super creative. Because like when growing up, I never got it. I thought I was a creative person, but I never got to express it. Like I studied maths and sciences, and I just hated it my entire life. And then literally just 3 years ago, like I'm starting to do like a ton of creative things, from like just like writing to like reading different like fiction books, which is like, and then learning how to speak, talk, and making bitters and all these things, which is like super awesome for me. And yeah. So what was I saying? No, I get to express my creativity in this way for this company. Like that's what I've always wanted to do that. And like, what was like the thing that made you click that wanted?
Well, I mean, I've always really not liked working for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Like I've always liked to just beat to my own drum and do my own thing. Yeah. And I've had like great people I've worked for over the years and still do. It's just, I always feel better left to my own devices, make my own decisions, drive my own car kind of thing.
We had this analogy that this bitters company is like a car. We just have like a ton of pieces that we have to put it together. And then like one day it will drive.
Yep. It's pretty close.
It's pretty close. It's been a long time coming though. Like the labels were a long process.
Yeah, that was a good 2-3 months.
Yeah, so our logo is a candle. And we came up with it. What did we come up with first? The name?
The name was first. Okay. And then the slogan. And then the logo was like the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. So our name is Inspirit Bitters. And we wanted something that, like, in my opinion, like drinking has some sort of like a negative connotation sometimes. But we wanted to like have like drinking in a positive light, right? At least in my opinion. And we came up with like something that brings life to a drink, and we came up with the word Inspirit. And how did the candle come about? after that? Like, what was, because like Kyle came up with the idea of the candle, because like,
well, because we went back and forth on the slogan of Spark Your Spirits.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of just mulling over in my head, like what would resemble a spark, and the candle was kind of it.
Yeah, I'm excited, man, because like most bitters companies don't have a logo. It's just like a name. Like Angostura is like known for their like yellow cap, but that's not a logo.
But I mean, you still recognize their lettering. Like if you see that word Angostura, if somebody wrote something else in that lettering, I would for sure know that. Yeah,
is it cool to see? Because you were talking about hip hop culture and you were interested in like graffiti art and everything like that. Is it cool to see that it's like that similar type of like aspect that you like that we designed with Benny, like actually like present like right in front of us?
Yeah, I mean, it's always cool to see like stuff that you think up
and then it just happens.
Exist. Mm-hmm. That's like always a gratifying thing for anyone that's creative.
Yeah, what are you most excited about the business right now?
Man, I want this website up.
Yeah. Websites, we're going to say it now, is probably going to be dropping within the next week and a half. It's weird to like start a business because like we don't, at least I didn't know like so many things that go into it. Like there's trademarking, there is like dealing with like making an LLC, like printers, like label designs, like in my head, I thought this was going to be way easier. So I thought we were going to get up and running in a few months, and here we are a year later, we're about to start driving, but
yeah, I'm just excited for that just because I know how much work we've put into this.
Yeah, it's cool to see, and that it's also like very rewarding, like in the sense that like there's how many times have you experienced like, oh, I kind of want to quit, like this is too hard, like I don't know if this is working.
Oh, it gets frustrating at times.
It was like
any creative thing in any business does.
Yeah, but there's some people who could do it on their own. Like I really appreciate our relationship in it because we always like be pushing each other back and forth. Like when I'm down, Kyle's like, dude, shut the fuck up, we're good. And then when Kyle's down, I was like, dude, come on, shut the fuck up, let's go.
Yeah. There's definitely a balance.
Yeah, so that dynamic has been awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
So I wanted to talk about reading.
Sure.
And I think that's how we like bonded right away, like at your bar. You were talking to this guy at your bar about, I think Jordan Peterson, or
yeah, it was probably that's right around the time that book came out.
12 Rules for Life. Sure. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. No one reads about like this stuff. I think I got it out the first week, and we talked about that. But explain, like, I guess your reading process, because like you have only been reading for, again, like a lot for like 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I never read, like,
at all? Even
through school, like I rarely read. I just never like I'd read the back of record jackets, but
that's interesting because this last year you read 50 books?
Yeah.
Insane. So what was your reasoning for reading again? Because a lot of people don't read.
It's something that I found that kind of is like a mental exercise. And even my like thought process is different when I read. So it's like the same way you work out your body. Like I think reading for me is similar. And it's just something I need to do. And I feel better when I do it. I feel more calm. I feel more chilled out. I feel like I'm learning.
And that's just something that you discovered 3 years ago, and you're like, I need this. I need to keep doing it because I'm thinking in a different way. And,
Well, I was reading books for like self-help reasons. That's like the first books I was reading.
Okay. What did you think you needed to work on?
I mean, I was just kind of at like a turning point in my life, and there was a bunch of patterns that were occurring that I was like, okay, well, I'm the common denominator. Why do these exist? So then I started just reading self-help books, trying to learn more about myself.
Like what's an example of like something that that you saw that you were the pattern on certain things in this a book, or certain books were like, oh, I recognize that, and you became like a different person after?
I think the biggest one was probably like relationships. Mm-hmm. Like I had a series of relationships that didn't last very long.
Like family or romantic?
Like romantic ones.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, I'd always ask myself, like, why didn't it work out? You know, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, I kind of just got to a point where I realized, like, I'm the common denominator here. So maybe there's something that I'm doing or I'm not doing or I'm not comfortable enough to do. So I just kind of started going down the rabbit hole of self-help books. I think I read probably 15 of them to start.
Oh, shit.
And, like, along the way, I learned a lot about myself. There was a lot of self-discovery. There was a lot of learning. There was a lot of, like, improvement.
Yeah, I feel like in the terms of, like, relationship aspect, and a lot of people are like, in a relationship doesn't work out, a lot of people blame, like, outside factors. Like,
yeah.
It was her. It was him.
Yeah.
It was this
Timing
situation. Yeah, it was timing, circumstance.
Or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, and that's funny to say that because, like, I think for me in my few past relationships, I always thought that it wasn't me, it was always them type of deal.
Yeah.
And, like, from reading and, like, just self-discovery, you're like, yo, like, you're not perfect. Like,
nobody is.
No one's perfect. No. And, like, there's always certain qualities that you can improve on, you know? And that's cool that you finally recognize that, or, like, me too, because or else you just keep running that same loop for the rest of your life.
Well, that's the thing is like the only way to break the pattern is to change it.
Yeah.
So unless you know what the pattern is, you can't really change it. So then it's about, like, self-discovery and figuring out, like, why does this pattern exist? Why does it keep occurring? And then obviously, like, you want to break it. So then you got to find out how to.
Yeah. So the how to part's the hardest part. Can you explain, like, your process of, like, changing, like, because, like, you could always read about something. You could read basically a self-help book that tells you A to Z on what to do. And then you're just like, oh, cool. And then what? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to break patterns, man. It's it's tough.
No, what's your process? Because I'm genuinely curious. Because, like, that's something that I try to do in, like, certain aspects of my life as well. Like,
it's well, first is, like, recognizing the pattern. So even if it's, like, a thought process thing, like, I used to have this big thing about thinking negatively and, like, verbalizing negativity. But the biggest thing, like your thoughts, like, when you catch it, you can, like, reframe it and be like, no, it's not this, it's this.
Okay.
So I recently learned this, that the go-to for the mind is to think the worst outcome.
Your mind or just in general?
No, they say, like, it's common, you know, it's more common for people to think the worst than to think the best. So as long as you can catch it and reframe it to being something more positive,
sure,
that's where, like, the change can occur.
Yeah.
But if you just stay comfortable and you stay like this, you know, that's just who I am, you know, whatever, it's not going to change.
Yeah. That's super interesting in the sense of, like, something totally negative can happen to me or you or anybody, and it's super hard to frame it and we're like, oh, it was meant for a reason. This is a positive thing that you could take out of it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's ridiculously hard to do.
Oh yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I guess, like, attracted me to our friendship is, like, similar things like that we, at least that the optimism from where you were getting to, I was similar in that similar, like, wavelength at the time.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome, man. What do you call it? Kyle reads a lot of, like, books that I'm not interested in.
Like what?
What's that Egyptian pyramid book that it's like 800 pages?
I read The Fingerprints of the Gods.
Yeah.
By Graham Hancock.
So he reads a lot of history, a lot of war stuff. And I know I want to read it, but then I'll pick it up and I can't get through it. Like, I tried, dude.
Yeah.
I want to. I have all these books that, like, history repeats itself. Like, you should know your past or the past of, like, where you live and everything. It's just good to know.
Yeah.
And, like, how do you stay engaged in such a, like, not boring topic, but a factual, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, I'm
dry.
dry. Yeah. It's dense.
Yeah, dry and dense for sure. Because I think I have a problem reading, not a problem. I have a hard time reading that, and I feel like you have a hard time reading, like, finance shit.
Oh yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, no, it's similar in that. Like, and I could read finance stuff all day.
Yeah.
So like what, like I'll explain why I guess I'm passionate about reading finance stuff, but like what's your reasoning for reading?
I just love history, man. And I'm big on that, like learning from history.
Yeah.
Like don't repeat the same mistakes.
What's like, why are you big on reading history? Like why is it important to you?
I mean, that's a good question. I honestly don't have an answer for that. Like my dad was big on history. So that's certainly like a way we kind of connected over the years. I took a lot of courses in school, history related.
Well, it's super cool in the sense of like bitters are super old.
Yeah.
They've been around since, this better than I do. What's the date?
Oh, I mean, you could take that back to
Egyptian.
Yeah, you could go even farther.
Yeah.
Because the containers apparently that they stored wine in were made of like cloth and would break down over time.
Yeah.
So it's possible that it could exist even that far back.
What's like a roundabout date?
Well, I mean, it's Egyptian pyramids. That's like BC.
Oh shit.
For sure.
That's a long time. Yeah. What do you call it for? We didn't really explain bitters. Can you define bitters for us?
It's similar to like flavoring extract that you use in baking or cooking. It's used to like season a cocktail, is like I like to call it.
Yeah,
similar
the
to
salt and pepper.
Yeah, similar to the way you use like salt and pepper to like cook with. It's the same concept but for drinks.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna ask you. I already know like what my answer is. Like why should someone use a bittering agent? Or like we have some really cool ones now. We got like some pineapple habanero. We're working on orange bitters. We're working on hibiscus bitters. We got these like holiday spice bitters that are really good with like I tried it the other day. My buddy made an espresso martini with it. Super good. Why should they use that instead of just like shaking up like ingredients?
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. It's like whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
I mean, there are health benefits to bitters as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that it can make mediocre alcohol taste much better.
Yeah, I had this for the first time. I made a old fashioned with Jack Daniels, and I hate Jack.
Yep.
But it tasted decent. Tasted pretty good. It was drinkable for
as
sure.
As long as it like improves something.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I did, use bitters with like a really good bourbon like that. I would just drink and eat.
No. Yeah. My favorite part about so far, like controlling the drink, is the pineapple habanero ones, because you can control the spice.
Yeah.
Versus like if you shake habaneros or jalapenos in a regular margarita, you don't know how spicy that thing's gonna be.
No, I mean every jalapeno and habanero is different. Some are hotter than others.
Yeah. So like if you imagine like you just like a little bit of a spice to it, you just put like a couple drops in there, you're good to go. But if you like it really spicy, you just put a couple dashes and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love most about it's like I don't use any simple. Like I use a tiny bit of triple sec, like some nice tequila, lime juice, and a few dashes of those bitters, and it's honestly so good.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah. Is there any like cocktails or besides the old fashioned that like you really enjoy making with the bitter so far?
I mean, definitely spicy margaritas with that pineapple habanero.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Old fashioned's like my go-to. Like I'll use the holiday spice, like especially like around fall season.
No, the holiday spice was really good when we came up with it.
So good.
When we pulled it out, I think it was around November when we made it. October,
yeah,
November?
It was right around there. October.
Yeah.
November.
I think we got somehow lucked out because that's like one of the only ones that we like dabbled with, and we pulled it and we made an old fashioned with it, and we're like,
yeah. I mean, we kind of dialed it in a little bit.
Yeah, dialed a tiny bit, but we're like, oh,
yeah,
this is so good. And the process of making bitters is super creative, right? Like in my opinion, like it's kind of like a chef. And like, what do you enjoy most about like the process?
Well, that's my favorite part, is like the coming up with flavor combinations and how much of this, how much of that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part, because that's the creative, essence of it.
Yeah, I just love learning about it, because I don't think I like know enough. I think you could always keep learning about like the mixology world, and there's so many people who I guess I think bartending is just like shaking a drink, pouring a shot, which it can be.
Oh yeah.
It can be, but you could dive into such a deeper like hole.
Oh, and it's how far down the rabbit hole do you
Yeah.
want to go?
And like I always strive because like I guess like we had that one talk that one night that we agreed on like we just want to get better at the things that we're like
Oh yeah.
like we're good at or like what we're interested in and I've always that's why I love hanging out with you all the time because like I always feel like I'm learning something,
Yeah.
you know, and like is there anything that you're trying to learn all the time about like I just like your life in general or bitters or like working out or yeah, is there something that interests you that you just want to keep getting good at besides this bitters company?
I mean, it's everything. Most of it's like I just want to find a way to be a better person and be my true self.
What's your true self?
I don't know. It changes.
Yeah.
It's, I'm a very curious person. So if I get interested in something, it's, try it on, see if it fits.
Yeah. What are you trying out now?
Reading fiction's pretty new.
Yeah.
And not like old fiction, but like more modern fiction.
Some old fiction too. You read some old fiction books. That was
I did for a while.
Yeah.
Yoga's pretty new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greg, do your yoga if you're listening. Okay, so let's talk about fiction real quick. What have you benefited from fiction? Like, what's good about reading a fiction?
I think fiction's very good at the emotional aspect, especially things like empathy. If you read about like characters that like go through turmoil and stuff,
Sure.
it's very good at like teaching empathy. Not like teaching empathy, but like allowing you to feel it.
Yeah, I could see that. Over quarantine, I didn't read as many books as Kyle. I probably read around 30, which is like pretty good.
That's great, dude.
Yeah, I know, but I'm over here. Kyle, how many did you read? 50. I was like, damn it.
That's nothing, man.
But I read like Harry Potter over quarantine. I read a few others. I think I read The Alchemist too.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I learned from like those books or those fiction books is like I learned a lot about like life and death with Harry Potter, like friendships, stuff like that. And it wasn't a self-help book in the sense of like, oh, this is what's happening. This is what you got to do. It was like a storyline that kind of related to like, oh, I had a friendship like that and it didn't go well. And that's a similar situation. And they like connected and bonded differently than I would have. And that's maybe why my friendship didn't go well.
Yeah.
And then, which is super cool because it's not a real story, but it taught me a lesson.
Oh yeah. There's like certainly parallels in books that,
Yeah.
You can relate to emotionally. And I think that's something that is super beneficial from reading fiction.
Yeah. I mean, I think fiction in general from like movies and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like I always thought like for the longest time, like movies and just like TV was so bad for you and you shouldn't watch it. Like that's what my mom ingrained in my head growing up. But like you can learn a lot from watching TV, movies, and fiction as well.
Oh, especially if you get into like documentaries too. Like you can learn a lot from anything.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah. Why do you like I love learning like now like certain because I used to hate learning in school.
Yeah.
And like
that was me too.
Yeah. And I feel like we bond over that a lot. But like now I feel like you and me are just like learning whatever we want to learn. We're just chasing our curiosities all the time. And I honestly don't know why I'm so like wanting to. Like why do you?
I mean, for me, I get to learn what I want to learn. Like when you're in school.
I know, but some people don't want to learn anything. They're content with it.
That's them.
Yeah, I know. But like what do you think is behind that? Like why do you want to learn more?
I mean, I don't know. For me, it's just I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like I want to know why this does this and what happened here.
For like history and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I have a question that is it weird? So me and Kyle are business partners, but our age gaps like are extremely different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I want to know. I never really asked you, like, were you hesitant to like
a little bit.
Why?
I won't lie.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, I had to like first know like how serious you were about it.
Yeah, there was like in the I remember the beginning of the like early stages.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you could change your mind tomorrow. And
well, that's the other part of it too.
You're like,
when I was your age, man, like I was all over the place.
Sure.
It's like I want to do this, I want to do that, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
like
you spit this fact out to me one day when we were hanging out. It's like, what was it? Your brain doesn't fully develop until like you're 26.
I think it's 25 or 26.
Yeah. So we were talking like business stuff, and Kyle was having a week, and he just spit that shit out on me, and I was like, damn, like he really thinks I'm not gonna go through with it.
Yeah, I had to at least lay that card on the table because
if you
change your mind and we're already invested.
Yeah.
That was like a concern for me. I'm not concerned anymore.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was close to a year ago, but I was caught off guard during that night because I was like, I mean, he's not wrong in that sense, but like, that's like, I was like, damn, does this dude not really trust me? Like at that point, and I don't think I've never brought that up to you, have I?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And so I was just like, I was like, dang, how do I navigate this through my head? Because like that made me concerned too. I was like, I mean, but he could also change his mind too. Like,
no, it's true.
Yeah. Like I thought about it for like a week.
Yeah. And I wasn't like trying to like call you out or anything because I was pretty confident at that point, but I at least like, I had some like reservations about it. So I was like, oh, at least say something. Like, don't just,
bottle
keep it to myself.
Yeah. It's good to like, just like speak your emotions and say how they feel, especially in like a partnership or like, just a friendship in general. Else it gets like pretty cloudy.
Well, I think that's what's made, us starting this company so easy is the fact that we are so honest with each other.
Easy. I don't think it's been too easy.
I'm not talking about that, but we're not like butting heads and there's not a lot of friction.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That's what I meant.
Like, I don't think we've had, no. The only things that I think we like butt heads on in terms of, it's just like how to do things more efficiently or like for the longest time it was like who's gonna deal with certain things, like navigating work wise, like Kyle like does not want to deal with like any legal stuff, any paperwork. We went to the bank one day because we had to make a business bank account, and they literally gave me like a Bible of like papers, and Kyle's like, here you go, bro, I'm not touching that.
Yeah, I just know it stressed me out, dude.
Yeah.
It's like reading that stuff, legal stuff, money stuff. I just, it's not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's like for a lot of people too. Like we went on a business call with, this guy from LegalZoom, and it was like, remember how stupid that call was? Yeah. And
like immediately I wanted to be like, just shut this down.
Yeah,
like,
shut it down. Stop.
A jerk. And
yeah, and it's hard to be like nice to people and like navigate your way towards that. Yeah. So okay, you're super into like nature and traveling and hunting and all of that. I want to get into that. And so you grew up in Michigan, Minnesota.
Yes,
I knew that.
Did you?
I did. Minnesota. And you used to hunt a lot, right?
Yeah, I used to hunt with my dad and my brother.
Younger, but you haven't done it for a very long time.
No, I recently just went again this year, but it had been, I thought about it, it was like 20 years.
That's a long time.
18 years, something like that.
Yeah, so I guess like right off the bat, a lot of people are going to be like anti-hunting, especially in like LA. Some people who are listening to the podcast, like what's your response to like how is it ethical? Because like in that manner, like why
is it ethical?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm a meat eater and I always will be. And I have an issue with, factory farming and, things of that nature.
Sure.
So it's become more important to me, like the older I've gotten, to get away from that. And the best thing I can come up with is if I hunt my own food, that's about as organic and free range as it gets. Like it's, And for me, like venison, stuff like that.
Venison's deer, by the way.
Yeah, it's just for me. It just works well with my system. Super lean, super healthy.
Yeah.
So I just want to get myself more back into that culture and try to be more in control of what I eat.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that, and I understand like how it's beneficial for your body and all that stuff. But like again, for that, what's your response to the argument of like, oh, like that's not cool. You're killing an animal. Like, that's you're like killing part of like Mother Nature. What's the argument for that?
I mean, I am, but it's also I'm using every part of that animal as much as I can.
Yeah.
But
isn't there like also like it's gonna die already in the wild by like a bear or something like, and
it's possible.
You fight, yeah, and
it's more likely to die from that than it is from me.
Yeah, and isn't it more ethical to like have like just like a one shot versus like being mauled by a bear?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and it's also like as a hunter, I think it's important to make sure you take a good shot and to prevent as much suffering as humanly possible.
Yeah,
and I won't say like killing an animal is not easy. It's tough. Like, and it's emotional, and it's, not something I've ever taken lightly.
Mm-hmm. But just like like I totally agree with you, because I think venison for the first time with Kyle when he first came back from home, and after you have just imagine like a fatty steak from the grocery store, and you just want to like sit on the couch and just like sleep.
Yeah.
And you just feel like gross sometimes. Like after you eat a lean piece of venison, you want to go like for a run. Not necessarily, but like
it gives you energy. It doesn't take it away.
It was weird. It was weird when I had that. I also like I didn't understand what the it factor was about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, there's something there.
Absolutely.
And like people who like go to like different diets, like every diet's correct. Like you could always make it around you. But like for vegans, like vegans will always think it's super healthy all the time. But vegans, you could definitely have like a carb heavy diet, and there's a ton of fat vegans out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And all that fake meat that's coming out, like that's all fat.
Is it?
Most of it, yeah.
How did they make it? I don't even know how they make it.
I'm not certain the logistics, but
sure.
A lot of it is like, fat.
Yeah. So back to hunting, back to nature, like what do you get from nature? Because like I feel like one of the biggest parts that you live in LA is because of the ocean, but you also love to travel. You and Greg did a ton of traveling during quarantine, and I think that was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you probably wouldn't have done all that traveling.
Not to that degree and as much of it. I don't think so.
So like, why is nature? Why is traveling? Why is that so, I guess, near and dear to your heart?
Nature to me is like, there's like a meditation factor. It just makes me still. Like I could sit and stare at the ocean for hours and hours and hours and not really stress out, not think about much. There's a zone there for me.
Just like a meditative state? Like, do you just let your mind wander?
Yep. And it's even, but that occurs in like the middle of the woods,
Sure.
Stuff like that too.
Yeah. Do you feel that, at least every time I go, I guess like camping or whatever like that, I'm just like, wow, there's no more cement jungles around anymore. Just like getting away from the roads and like not having cell service.
Yeah. It's less noisy.
Yeah,
and it's the good kind of noisy, like birds and water and.
Yeah, I don't know what there's some science, it has to be behind it, because you get some euphoric feeling from it, and like I haven't. The only time I get to experience is like when I'm in the ocean or like near here, but like lately, because I haven't done like camping or like traveling in a very long time, but like what do you think that comes from?
I mean, I think it's evolution. Like we, as humans, used to be a part of nature, part of the ecosystem, part of the, food chain.
Yeah.
But in the last, however many years, like that's changed.
Yeah.
Like,
do you think it's important to go out just like anybody? Because there's a ton of people stuck at homes, especially during quarantine, like sitting down all the time. People who I guess before like COVID, like just stuck in offices all day, every day.
Oh God. Yeah, I think it's very important to get out and be with nature.
Yeah.
Like when quarantine happened, that was like the first thing I said. I was like, get outside as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Don't allow yourself to like, you know, feel trapped in your house.
Yeah.
Especially because I live alone. Like it was a recipe for me to just kind of
get in your head,
have a Shining moment or something.
Shining?
The movie The Shining.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay.
Too young for that.
Yeah, sure. You should watch it. It's pretty good. But yeah, I just, you know, so I made sure like I worked out outside,
Mm-hmm.
you know, got exercise, was in nature as much as I could. And then those trips with Greg kind of popped up, and I was absolutely into all that. So we did like Yosemite, Yellowstone, Badlands. We were all over the place.
What's Badlands?
Badlands is in South Dakota, I believe.
Okay.
It's just another national park.
Awesome. Do you want to do more like road trips and traveling in the near future?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to make a point to do that every year as much as I can.
Yeah, I feel like we somehow we've talked about it, want to do some sort of like travel bartending or figure out how to like move around like the world and like get our product somewhere. That's eventually what we want to do, or at least what I want to do too. Kind of be like a nomad type of deal, but have a business somewhere.
Absolutely.
How are we gonna make that work? What do you think? What do you think are the next steps?
Well, I mean, the website's first.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So we made a ton of inventory. We're kind of just betting on ourselves.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, I'm confident it's gonna work, man.
Yeah. That's one thing that gets me through it, dude. When like lately, he's like, "Oh yeah, dude, it's fine. But I'm not excited about the small things anymore. I just want to get excited for the big things." Like, I figured out like the shipping the other day, and I was so psyched about it. And today, it sounds ridiculous, but I was on a call with Stamps.com for 4 hours, probably like the fourth time, and I finally got it through. Yeah. And Kyle was like, "Cool, dude. Next step, let's go."
Yeah. I just want to I want to drive the car, man.
Yeah, I know, rushing it, but I'm not rushing it, but. What were we talking about? Next steps for like how are we gonna get this global?
Well, I mean, there's always room for sales and travel.
Yeah, I didn't tell you yet, but I was thinking about taking a trip to. I have a friend in Austin, and she said she would show me around. She knows like all the bars around there in May, June. If you want to come too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I want to get in a few bars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What do you call it? Back at home, I was talking about, like, you grew up around nature. You grew up hunting. You grew up around that environment. How was the transition to LA? Like, when you first moved here? Were you shocked? Was it a culture shock?
It was a different animal for sure.
What's Minnesota like?
Well, I grew up about 15 minutes from Minneapolis. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's a decent-sized city, but LA is a monster compared to that.
Sure. But what was Minneapolis like? I have no clue. Like, if you had to explain like what your hometown's like and how you grew up, like what would that be?
I mean, it's like Minneapolis is great. I just couldn't do the cold weather. It's another reason I stay here is.
So it's so how did you go? Like,
it's
was it cold?
6-8 months of winter.
Oh shit! Really?
2 months of summer, but you get spring and fall. It's not like 2 seasons.
Yeah. And you grew up in a pretty small town?
No. I mean, I grew up in a town called Eden Prairie, which is like 15 minutes from Minneapolis. Okay. It's like a suburb. Big high school.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Baseball guy, right?
Baseball, basketball, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Played since I was a little kid.
Do you think did you take any like lessons out of, I guess, your hometown? Like, then, like, obviously you'd be a different person if you grew up there versus here.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, how so?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different way of life. Like,
sure.
I would be more in touch with the ocean if I were to grow up here.
Mm-hmm.
That would have, that's something I would have liked, but,
yeah.
It's just different. Like,
yeah. You think you ever would go back?
I think about it all the time just because my family's there and I have really close friends there still.
Yeah. How is it being so far away from, like, that hometown, like, family and friends? Because, like, my family is only, like, 4 hours away and it's just a drive.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I go home probably a little bit more than you, but you probably only go home once, twice a year, maybe.
Yeah, I try to do twice a year.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
Like, how is that?
It's tough sometimes, but you know, I try to keep in close contact with my parents and, you know, my brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then my really close friends, like we talk all the time too. So I make it a point to like try to stay connected with them.
You're pretty good at being alone, like at home. And like, it was very admirable when we started hanging out and stuff, because I'm good at being alone now. It took me a long time to like really like enjoy being alone and like, I guess like having a good time by myself, like reading, doing whatever. But I used to get super like, I think, I don't know what part of quarantine. I was living in Santa Monica still. Both my roommates moved out, and I was just in that house, in that apartment. I
actually remember this.
Yeah, for 3 months, and I think I was going crazy. Like,
yeah, you were certainly a little more high strung when you were there.
Yeah, like, and that experience like did help me like, just like I could be alone all the time and super content, like away from the world, do whatever on my own now, and I grew a lot in that aspect over this last year. I'm very comfortable being me and around that. But like, I feel like you've always been like that.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm. Like, how did you get to that point? Because like you've had these crazy experiences from what you told me, like in music, right? Like you used to be around like crowds all the time. You used to be around being around like a ton of drugs, ton of like parties, all that stuff. But you're not even close to that.
No,
anymore. I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's something like I don't do very well in crowds. I still don't.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some sort of like anxiety it gives me.
Yeah.
And I guess like I kind of always at least like needed my time to myself.
Yeah.
Like some, you know, certain points in my life, it was like I needed more than others.
Yeah. I think it's super important though. Like, I feel like alone time, like from what I've read, just what I've experienced, like you need to like understand yourself.
Sure.
Before like you could like open up to others and everything like that, in my personal opinion. And I've always admired that, like, you're really good at your own devices in terms of just like being alone and like alone with in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Do you think that's important though?
To be alone?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think you need to be good with yourself. And the best way to do that is be alone.
How do you
have no outside influences, you know, it's just you by yourself, your own thoughts, your own feelings, whatever is an issue for you is going to come up because you're by yourself.
Yeah. So what would you have to say to someone who just like can't do it? Like they have crazy anxiety if they don't talk to someone during like a day.
Sure.
Like what would the process be to just like start to like understand yourself and learn to be alone, in your opinion?
I mean, it's find something that you like to do that you can do alone where that doesn't happen. So whether it's like exercising, going on hikes, you know, doing something that is so physically intense that you don't need to, you know, really think with your own feelings, I guess, if that makes sense. You know, start there and then gradually like do things a little slower.
I think that's good.
Eventually like get to stuff like meditation.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, meditating's hard. The first time I started doing it, I thought I was meditating for like 20 minutes, and I looked at the clock, and it was like 4. I was like, dang, this sucks, man. Certainly. But then, like, certain things, like if you're out, like, dang, it's already like 2 a.m. Like, it just, time flies by at like different aspects. Yeah. You know? So, you've been writing a lot this last year. So
sort of, yeah.
Especially for like we're writing for like the Bitters blog and everything like that. What does I guess like why you've been writing other stuff, but we don't need to go into that if you don't want to. But what's writing mean to you, and like why do you write? Why do you journal too?
Yeah, I've kept a journal for
quite a
long time.
Yeah.
It's very good, like therapy. It's like good to get your emotions out, put it on paper.
Yeah.
There's some sort of like emotional release to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always kind of like wrote in that regards, but
the first time that you were writing, like, not like an essay, but an essay was like the first Bitters blog that we were about to put on the website.
Yeah.
And you said it was like you were having a rough time with it.
Yeah.
But you enjoyed it at the same time.
Well, I mean, I hadn't written like that since
high school or some
high
shit.
school
Yeah.
or college.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like I had to like relearn some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it is enjoyable for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing the research, background checks, making sure your facts are correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun.
It was impressive when I read it. I was like, huh, he hasn't done this a long time. You said it. And I was like, this is something that is very articulate in a way that someone could read it, not know anything about bitters and like where they came from, and read it and be like, oh, bitters are super dope. I kind of like how it's like the history of it. I like this company, and oh yeah, I kind of want to buy it.
Sure.
That's why I was like, oh, that was pretty freaking cool. Because like I like writing, but I don't like I like writing like some poetry or like just like thoughts in my head that like flow together.
Yeah.
But like I don't know if it's like a history thing or like whatever. I just don't like writing like factual shit.
Sure. For me it was certainly more difficult, I won't lie.
Yeah.
It's much easier when you're just like, you know, almost like word vomiting and just writing.
Yeah. You also been writing some fiction too, right?
I'm kind of playing around with some stuff.
Yeah. I guess like I haven't really like even had like stories in my head that like, oh, I imagined this and it's on paper. Like isn't it weird like where those ideas or stories in your head come from? Like if you look at Stephen King and It, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, that dude had that story in his head and he wrote that?
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how can like isn't it's so cool that all these movies, all these like books that are fiction, just like
started as an idea.
Is an idea.
Yeah.
But like, I guess like, where do these ideas come from? You know, like
who knows?
Who knows, man? Yeah. And like, especially with this bitters company, I'm just like, I'm so curious to see like how far it could go, because everything that goes on in your head and you put it into action, like you don't know where it can go.
No, you don't know when it's going to stop either.
Yeah.
Or if it ever will.
Yeah. So I've been trying to practice that as much, like not like in a fiction writing way, but if I have an idea or a cool thing in my head and I try it and then it works or it happens, it's very fulfilling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So is it super cool? Like, are you experiencing that with like writing this fiction, or is there any other, I guess, like things or experiences that you've had lately that you've had that feeling? Or
I mean, I have creative ideas all the time. It's just more about like acting on them. A lot of times I just let them pass. Mm-hmm. And I forget which book it is about, you know, that you need to just make sure you're constantly working to be able to grab the ideas that are going to work. Yeah. I forget which book it is that I read that in.
I don't remember.
Might be The War of Art or something.
It sounds like the War of Art quote.
Yeah.
What do you call it? You have a lot of music and writings that the world has not seen. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
A lot of it is I don't feel like they're finished, so I just don't release them.
Yeah.
Even though I've worked on them for weeks and sometimes months. Like anything I have released over the years, it's like...
Does it matter if it's finished, though? In terms of, like, what if people really love all your shit?
I don't know. It's more for me, like, if I don't feel like it's done... Yeah. You know, that's how I've always thought. Yeah. You know, I'm kind of like a perfectionist and super critical of myself and my work. I
feel like it's, like, super different because, like, we'll put out, like, a bitters that obviously isn't done, but we have some. We have, like, we're not going to just keep all of it. Like, we have to put it out there. Sure. Right? And there's going to be, like, certain, like, blog posts or something that you were hesitant to even, like, send me, like...
Oh, yeah. I have a hard time, like, releasing anything creatively that I work on. It's like, I don't want to let it go.
Yeah. And I think we're a little bit different on that aspect, but, like, not to a fault, because, like, sometimes for me, like, I probably... need to do a few more revisions or like whatever to like get it out there. Yeah. But I feel like there's also a benefit of like not holding it on for so long. Maybe there's like a good time.
Yeah, and there's something to like letting it go and like putting it aside and just moving on to something else.
I feel like I've read a lot of your, I read a few of your things. I've listened to a lot of, or a decent amount of your music, and I'm just like, oh, this is super cool. Like, why don't you just release it, man?
I mean, I appreciate that. I don't know why, man.
Well, you think
I'm getting like more comfortable with some of it, so I definitely like have, I want to let more of it go, just so it's like not, I don't know, like I always feel like there's a creative thing on my shoulder, like there's stuff that's not done.
Yeah, I could totally see that. But looking at it objectively and getting to know you for the last few years, you are one of the most creative people I know, just like genuinely.
Sure.
And I think the world needs to see it, bro. Like everything.
Well, we'll see what we can do here.
And the Bitters Company is a good channel for it, honestly.
It is. It's
a great channel. I think it's good practice.
Yeah, it's certainly like helped me move towards that direction.
Yeah. And for me, like in terms of business wise, like I've always wanted to learn about all these things, and it's like, kind of giving me an excuse to like, oh, now it's time to learn this shit.
Yeah.
So I think it's beneficial in like every aspect in that way.
Oh yeah. This business has certainly been like a learning experience.
No, for sure. I always I think my parents brought it up a couple times. They're like, what if it doesn't work out? And I was like, I've learned so much.
Absolutely.
Like if you just take it away, like tomorrow, I've learned so many things. And like I think it's just gonna be a long-term process, and we're gonna learn and learn and learn until we decide to sell it or just keep it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the future, man, for it. And hopefully, like, we'll see something soon. But I kind of just enjoy the process. But, like, sometimes I'm just, like, impatient.
Yeah.
Patient. Like, what, And I feel like you just have to put one foot in front of the other. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You just got to, like, take the punches, go with the flow.
Yeah. We just got to stay diligent and keep moving forward.
Yeah. I want to talk about exercising real quick. What does you've done CrossFit before?
Yeah, I did that for a few years.
Yeah. What does exercise mean to you? Like what does it do for you too?
I do it for mental health reasons. Like that's 100%, the other stuff is like a bonus to me.
A bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does it do for your mental health?
Well, certainly like it curbs that like negative thought process. There's this sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
I like to work out to a point where that's like my most difficult thing I do for the day. So the other stuff becomes easier.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just feel better when I do. Like 100%. I can, like if I miss a few days, I can certainly tell like, yo, you need to work out, something's off.
Yeah. I think mental health too, like I guess for me, like I didn't think I could do, 25 pull-ups like strict in a row like 2 years ago. I didn't think I could. Now I can. I didn't think I could lift a lot of weight back then. Now I can in certain aspects. And it kind of put, for me, mentally for like working out, you can't do something and then you can. You think you can, and then over the next couple of years you do it. You're like, oh,
yeah,
this is super cool. Like how can you apply that to somewhere else? Like for the Bitters Company or for just like a goal like in life. Like for me, the biggest one lately was like, I was like, dang, I don't think I can do a backflip. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and I landed one the other day.
Yeah.
And that's like fitness related too. And it's kind of like, it's this like snowball effect like lately for fitness wise for me that I was like, oh, you could do anything and whatever, anything in the world.
Absolutely.
Lately.
You can translate it to the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like it's more about like just doing it consistently and good things will happen. Like you'll get to your goals.
Yeah, it's crazy. Is there any other examples that like you've learned from working out that you've put into like other aspects of your life?
Oh, absolutely. Even stuff like reading.
Really?
Like when I first started reading a few years ago, I was like, it was frustrating
really?
because I hadn't read very much and my mind was like wandering all over the place. So it was like tough to get through the first few books, but you just keep doing it. Eventually you read faster, becomes easier. And now it's like I just read because I enjoy it.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know you got frustrated like reading at first.
Absolutely.
I guess your brain's like a muscle in that aspect. So so you like drinking? We're gonna go into that real quick.
Okay, sure.
So, what got you into whiskey?
I don't know. It was just the drink of choice over the years.
What do you call it for like during bands and stuff back in the day? Like
making music and stuff.
But I feel like whiskey's not the drink of choice. Like it's usually like a shot of, I don't know. I could be wrong. I've never been in that world.
I mean, it's kind of just what I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think it was like what I was around or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just what I gravitated
We
towards.
got this bottle of whiskey called Blood Oath. It's I don't know. Do you know the details, the specs about it?
It's like a company that makes bourbon, but they do like a limited edition batch every year. So there's only like a certain amount of bottles, and then the next year the recipe's different.
Okay.
So there's just like, they call it packed. So there's pack 1, 2, I think they're on like 7 now, but it's like each packed is like released per year.
Yeah. It's probably one of the best bourbons I've ever had.
Yeah, it's certainly like, I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, and we have this bottle that we have this little goal thing for the company. I think our next one is what, $10,000 in sales.
Yeah, I forget what it is, but
and
it was like
I
a
think
sales goal.
1,500 in followers. And what's your view on, like, for me, not just in this business, but like I always have like, if you hit this goal, you could buy this thing for you or enjoy this experience. And that's how in my life lately, the last 5 years, that I've put a stepping stone for me.
Sure.
And I kind of wanted to do it for the business. And that's why, like, I think I brought it up or you brought it up. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. Like, we should definitely do that. Like, what's your view on just like setting like mini goals and then like rewarding yourself in that way, that manner?
I think it's great, man. It's like a reason to celebrate, even if it's like a small win.
Yeah.
Plus it like gives you something to work towards. Like a lot of times you set a goal and it's like, yeah, you get there, but there is no like thing pushing you along the way. Even if it's just something little like a glass of whiskey at the end of it, like it's still like in the back of my head, like if we do this, like we get to have this.
No, it's like way more exciting than like objectively.
And I know it's like small and just like it's just a drink of bourbon. But,
But like I was looking so forward to it when we got done with those labels. Our first goal was to get like printed labels and bottle in hand. And once we got that, we poured that bottle of whiskey, and I was like, yes, we did it.
Yeah, and there's that like well earned, drink as well. There's like a that aspect too.
What do you mean?
Like this drink was well earned.
Oh,
like we worked hard.
Yeah, worked hard to get to it. The next one's going to be tough.
I know it is.
We have to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have to track everything, make sure it's right. Well, I'm excited for it. What are you most excited for in your life right now, besides like the bitters company?
I mean, that's the biggest thing for sure. Certainly excited to like plan more trips.
Yeah, coming
travel
up.
around some more, yeah.
That's it?
That's the two biggest things
right now. Things?
Yeah, I'm glad summer's coming back too.
Oh.
The warm weather.
Yeah, I don't love. I like spring weather. Like I don't love it super hot, but you usually love hot weather.
Oh God, I love it.
Yeah, LA is like pretty like same, but like it gets to like summer is like mid 80s, gets to the 90s, sometimes the hundreds, but I like 70s. 70s is good. What do you call it? Last thing I want to talk about is like I guess doing therapy. Because there's a lot of people out there, especially during like quarantine and everything like that, they suffered mental health wise. Sure. And I feel like you and I have grown drastically over this last year, just like mentally, physically. Like I honestly think quarantine has been a blessing in disguise, or COVID, whatever. And granted, like both of us haven't had anyone like directly affected badly, like to the point of where like death wasn't a factor, which is like a blessing too. So like I've always admired that you're super open about therapy and like it's helped you. I've done it a couple times and I definitely want to eventually, but what has it done for you, and like why do you think it's important, and why is it okay? Like because a lot of people, like at least when I grew up from in an Asian household, like it was always like, oh, you don't need that, you don't need to talk to someone, like that's for like weak people, like
sure.
I
I mean, I grew up the same way. Like there
Oh,
was
really?
just this, I mean, it's just like this stigma that was surrounding therapy. There was
Mm-hmm.
just like a negative connotation to it.
Sure.
You know, and I always kind of like resisted it growing up too.
Yeah.
But the last like few years, I'm super adamant about, you know, I go once a week. I see a therapist once a week. And,
Yeah.
I actually think that everybody should see a therapist. Like every human on the planet could not benefit in some way from seeing a therapist. Like there's always something you can work on. There's always things you don't see and know about yourself.
Sure.
You know, it's almost a lot of times it's just like a mirror. Like you're looking in the mirror and they're kind of like bouncing back what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have like a non-judgmental, safe place to like talk about stuff.
Yeah. Also, like if you have like, in my opinion, like a ton of like problems in your head and stuff like that, it's probably not good to just like spill all that on like close friends.
I mean, you know, it's because that can be like exhausting for the person you're doing it
Yeah,
to.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah. You know, if it's like your friends there for you, like I think that's great too.
Sure.
Like it's kind of the same thing at times. Like
Similar.
my friends have been there for me, I've been there for them.
Yeah.
But I think it's always good to have that like non-biased party that you can do that with, and you know, it's not
Can look at you from an objective, open-minded
sure,
like, manner.
and it's not like, you know, exhausting your friend. Like if they're going through something, but they want to be there for you, and it's just adding to it.
Sure.
A lot of times, so yeah, I mean, I'm honest about it and open, and I don't really think there should be a stigma with therapy. I think it's a positive
So
thing.
what do you have to say to like people who are like just like too nervous to go in, or like they grew up with that stigma? Like what do you tell them?
I mean, I just think that there shouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Like stop being afraid of it. Just call somebody, find somebody you like. Don't settle for the first one if you don't feel it's a right fit for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if there's issues that you feel you need to work through, then you know it's good to reach out.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Last thing is like for the business wise, there's a lot of people out there who have cool ideas and like want to start a business and all these things. And we actually did it. We have an LLC. We have like a tax ID number, all that stuff. And for me personally, I'm just like, whoa, we did this. Like we had this idea, we did it. I guess what's your advice from your perspective of like how to start, when to do it? Like,
oh, don't wait, do it. Like start now.
Yeah.
You know, there's that whole like creative resistance thing. I think that's the same for starting a business. There's like a resistance. You're afraid, you're scared.
Sure.
You know, the best thing to do is just start.
Yeah.
Get started, start moving forward, even slowly to begin with.
I think that's the whole thing with life too. If you have something that you want, just to start it.
There's that whole fear resistance thing. That's real.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think that's a good place to end, brother. Just
Sure,
start.
man.
Kyle Brett, he'll probably be on once we get the business up and running again. And I'm excited for the future, my friend.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for
Anytime,
coming, brother. Love
Appreciate
you, man.
You too.